This is Ruben once again with Ulosophy. If you liked any of my past videos, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video, comment on the video. It will be greatly appreciated. Today I want to talk about something that the great Napoleon Hill said. And if you're not familiar with Napoleon Hill, you should be. If you're watching these videos and you like this type of information and data, you should definitely know who Napoleon Hill is. And if you don't, I will suggest that you immediately start researching who Napoleon Hill is and get his books, specifically Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, which is really, if you get those books, those two books, that's, to many, they say that's the best work of Napoleon Hill. And if you like his work, you could read the other books. But if I would suggest the two books you should get from him, if you've never heard of this man before, get Think and Grow Rich and The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. Napoleon Hill, as we talked about, he was hired by the richest man on the planet at that time, which was Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was the richest man at that time because he started U.S. Steel. His company, was involved in all the steel manufacturing throughout the time, and that's how the railroads were built. That's how many buildings were built. The industry revolution started, right? The industrialization through people like Andrew Carnegie. And Andrew Carnegie started U.S. Steel. So he was the richest man on planet Earth. He hired Napoleon Hill for a 20-year commission. And in this 20-year commission, he hired him for 20 years. Like, who would hire somebody for 20 years, right? He hired Napoleon Hill for 20 years. And in those 20 years, he was to gather data, information on the common denominators of successful people. So Andrew Carnegie, as he was the richest man on planet Earth, he had access to other wealthy, super successful, rich people. And he was to introduce Napoleon Hill to all these super successful, rich people for 20 years. And in those 20 years, he would gather information and see if there were any common denominators with all these super successful people. But he wanted the manuscript to, and at the end, when he has gathered all the information through those 20 years, to make a manuscript. But he wanted this manuscript to be specifically about money. He wanted it to be about money and see if there was any common denominators within all these super successful people that made them acquire the super wealth. So he did. He was hired for 20 years. He observed, and he wrote down whatever he discovered. And in those 20 years, he discovered that there are common denominators with all these super successful people. And he put it in a volume called The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. That was his original material, his original work. From there, it was watered down to Think and Grow Rich. It was because The Law of Success in 16 Lessons is a very thick book. Actually, I have it somewhere here. Let me get it real quick. I was just fixing my books yesterday. And like, I always get books from my book collection, and I put certain books to the side, and those are the books I'm reading at the moment. So I have them over there, and this is always there. This book right here, The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. The Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill. This book is always there. I'm always reading this book over and over and over. It's always going to be there. This book is always going to be in my reading stash, right? It will never go back into the bookshelf. So I usually read like And I was like 4 or 5 books that I'm reading, and this book is always there. It's always there. It has ever since I bought it. It probably has gone on the shelf probably once, and when I realized it was on the shelf, I immediately took it off. But my point is, you see how thick this book is. This this book. One time I took it to work. I took this book to work when I first got it, and this was back in 2009. It was 2015. Now we're about to head to 2016. So when I was like 18 or 19 years old, I bought this book and I took it to work. Uh, when I first got it, I was so excited to read this book. I took it with me everywhere, even to work. So on my break, I would read it. On my lunch break, I would read it. I've read this book probably like several times. I lost count. But okay, and another thing about this book, I'm sorry, I'm just getting into other things because this book is probably my favorite book out of all the books because this is the one and only book that I never get tired of. It's strange. It's very strange. I don't know why, but this book is a book that entertains me. I actually enjoy reading this book. I enjoy reading all the books I own and all the books that I discover around. And I'm reading a book by that I will actually do a book review on by Pastor Joseph Prince, Grace Revolution. He just came out with this book probably like a month ago, month and a half ago, and I got it, and I'm almost done with it. It's such a great book, and see, it's those type of books that I love. That the ones that entertain you, like you love reading them. Like you don't read because you have to read. You're reading them because you actually like the material. Like it actually entertains you. See, when you find books on success like that, that's a book to keep, and that's a book to definitely recommend. But back to this book. You see how thick this book is. Like I was mentioning, I took this book everywhere when I first got it, and I remember I took it to at where I was working at the time, and I remember several people told me that what was my major. They thought this was a college book. They thought this was a college course. They thought it was a college course. And I actually told them, well, look, this is not a college course. This is an actual book. Well, it should be a college course. Actually, it's so good, and it should be a matter of fact. It shouldn't be a college course. It should be a course in high school, because this book teaches you about wealth, about money, how to handle money. See, we go to school and we are not taught certain things that we should be taught that actually will help us in life. Things like how to handle money. See, we're not taught that in school. We should be taught that in middle school, if anything, and all the way through high school, and really jam that in because most people don't know how to handle money. I didn't know how to handle money for the longest. My mother could tell you. That was that was her biggest argument with me, that I would not handle my money. Well, for one, I never really, how people have put so much attention to material stuff and money and they secure it. I've never been that type of person, to be honest with you. I've always been the type of person that I love giving. I don't know why. I love giving. Like, sure, I'm to the point right now that I'm comfortable with myself. I love myself, and I could go to dinner by myself. But if you come around, if I bump into you and I'm telling you, well, I'm going off to dinner. Have you ate? If you haven't ate, I'm inviting you to dinner, right? Like, money's the last thing I'm worried about. Who's paying for dinner? Or like my friends. Like if I have money, I got it. Trust me, I got it. Friends will tell you like and materialistic things too. Like one of the you know arguments my mother always had with me since I was a kid is she would always tell me, you have to know the value of a dollar. You have to know the value of a dollar. You have to take care of your stuff. Look at your shoes. I just bought your shoes. They're all dirty now. And I understand the value of a dollar now. I understand that one works hard for it, but really, if you look, at your life, and I'm talking about a certain thing, and this thing is just going up to something else, but this is very important. So it passes. If you look at your life, the things that you struggle the most with are the things you care about the most, that you worry about the most. Think about it. And most people is money, right? Most people is money, and they wonder. It's like the more you try to take care of something, the more the faster that thing will crumble, will mess up. Have you ever heard that? A lot of my friends, we have that saying, like, the more the, I have friends that love their cars. Like, they love their cars. I have several cousins of mine. They love their cars. They clean them. They spot shine every single day. You cannot put a fingerprint on that car because they'll come out and insert a cloth will magically appear, and they'll brush it off. They're the ones that have the most car trouble out of all the people I know. They have the most car trouble because they care about it. This is why in the biblical scriptures, tithing is talked about. Sure, it's a great thing to give to your church or to your whatever your spirituality, you know, resonance is, But this is why tithing is talked about in almost every spiritual scripture, specifically the biblical scripture, the Christian scripture. Tithing is talked about. And I always wonder why is tithing talked about, right? Well, I understand that the church, you should donate to the church so they could focus on preaching to the people. Sure, I understand that. But as I grew, I still didn't fully get it. Like I wonder, like, well, shouldn't I mean shouldn't the preacher give its service for free? And I thought about it. This things I thought about as a kid. You have to understand, I was a normal kid. Ever since I could remember, I thought about things way out there that I even shocked my parents at certain discussions I would be talking about. My mother is a hardcore Catholic, so she always thought, oh my God, why are you thinking things like this, right? But that's